Hello, dear friends. After the failure of the Great Davos Reset, the famous United Nations Agenda 2030 has also failed and has now been postponed to 2050. The dominoes continue to fall, but there are still human beings who don't want to see such obvious signs as the confirmation of the QFS. Opinion piece. Agenda 2030 fails. Now there is a talk of Agenda 2050. It's not over until we win. United Nations wants that the goals will not met. French businessman Bernard Arnault is the richest in the world. Scientists warn that Earth is shifting off its axis. Submarines detect strange objects piercing the depths. China on higher alert as Yangtze River near dangerous levels. Chinese yuan hits 3-year high against US dollar. Thousands evacuated as eastern India braces for cyclone Yaas. Let's start. The world will not achieve the goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development depopulation because natural climate change and the destruction of the ecosystems continue despite improvement in other key areas for the environment, such as clean energy or forest management, according to a UN report published by FA Agency and several media, and advanced yesterday by Inmaculada Fernández. But the report doesn't speak of patents classified to produce free energy without polluting the environment. The report released Saturday in Toronto, Canada, called Measuring Progress, Environment and the Goals of the United Nations Environment Programme, reviews data and information of the environmental aspects of each of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, as well as the progress made worldwide. The Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity, Elizabeth Maruma Mrema of Tanzania, noted in a statement that we have not yet adopted the pace of change needed to be in line with the 2030 Agenda. The report makes it clear that we are falling short and, in some cases, going backwards. Mrema added, in addition, governments are not making full use of available environmental information when making decisions. Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals 2015 and 2030, also known by their acronym SDGs, are in an initiative promoted by the United Nations to continue the development agenda after the Millennium Development Goals. There are 17 goals in 169 targets proposed as a continuation of the Millennium Goals, including new areas such as climate change, economic inequality, innovation, sustainable consumption, peace and justice, among other priorities, but doesn't speak of hidden clean energy technologies to avoid depopulation. The goals were established in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly and were expected to be achieved by 2030. They are included in a UN resolution called Agenda 2030. They were developed in the post-2015 development agenda as the future global development framework to succeed the Millennium Development Goals that ended in 2015. Following a negotiation progress on the goals that involved 190 United Nations member states, on September 25, 2015, the 193 world leaders approved at a summit held in New York at a high-level plenary meeting of the General Assembly in the agenda entitled Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, which entered into force on January 1st, 2016. Agenda 2050. The Vision 2050 report is a new agenda for business that sets out the path that boils down to a world population of about 9 billion people, within the assumed resource limits of the planet by 2050. This work is the result of a combined 18-month effort with series and experts and dialogues with over 200 companies and external stakeholders in some 20 countries. The report details that the must-haves, the things that must happen over the next decade to enable a sustainable planetary society. These include incorporating the costs of externalities into the market structure, starting with carbon, ecosystem services and water, doubling agricultural production without increasing the amount of land or water used, halting deforestation and increasing yields from planet forests, halving global carbon emission by 2050 throughout a shift to low carbon energy systems and greater demand-side energy efficiency, and providing universal access to low carbon mobility. Spain 2050 Plan. Pedro Sánchez presents in Spain 2050 Plan. The President of the government affirms that Spain can be more efficient, digital, green and fair, and that it could be among the most advanced countries in the European Union during his speech at the presentation of the report entitled Spain 2050, Foundations and Proposal for a Long-Term National Strategy. With respect to the measures established within the plan, the report points out that the frequent flyer tax will be created and taxes will be established on airline tickets depending on the destination made and banning flights if the trip can be made in less than 2.5 hours by train. The report states that there will be an increase in taxes on alcoholic beverages, tobacco and fuel derived from oil. The executive intends that the tax collection will be increased by 8 points over the next 30 years. Given that in 2019 it was 35% of GDP, 7.2 points below 7.2 points below the European average, and will grow to 37% in 2030, to 40% in 2040, and 43% in 2050, according to the report. The Spain 2050 plan is being received with enormous skepticism and no little bewilderment among economists and the business world. The plan lacks sufficient development to offer solutions to Spain's structural issues, such as job creation. If we start from an average GDP growth of 1.5% from 2022, as estimated by the European Union. The General Secretary of the Partido Popular, Teodoro García Egea, has criticized the fact that the President of Government doesn't organize the debate on the state of the nation to talk about the Spain of 2021 and the problems that exist today, but he does present a plan for the year 2050. According to García Egea, Sánchez's virtual Spain doesn't match to the real Spain. He finds it offensive that Sánchez's document refers to Spain is hungry for the future, when, in quotes, when there are 2 million Spaniards in queues to ask for food. Spain and Europe. Ceuta recovers normality. Ceuta gradually recovers normality after the entry of more than 8,000 people at the beginning of last week, while trying to solve the situation of the 800 minors housed in various locations. The best solution for any minor is for them to return to their parents. Austria rucksack in Spain. As it has done periodically for at least 15 years, the Bank of Spain once again recommended replacing the current redundancy regime with the so-called Austrian rucksack. The European Union, or rucksack or bag. The European Union political dwarf and wasteful NGO. The arrest in Minsk of the Belarusian opposition journalist following the division of the plane in which he was traveling has offered the European Union a new excuse to hide its largest foreign policy failures, according to Luis Rivas. Mass data interception violates human rights. The European Court of Human Rights has confirmed a sentence in which it had condemned the United Kingdom for the mass interception of communications and the collection of data by its secret services, but not for having shared this information with other countries. As the court unanimously concluded that the UK violated two concepts of the Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights. Economy. Ethereum may eclipse Bitcoin. After a dramatic plunge in cryptocurrencies, analysts at investment bank Goldman Sachs predict a high probability that Ether, the token of the Ethereum platform, will eclipse Bitcoin. Economics Nobel laureate Robert Shiller sees a Wild West mentality in housing, stocks and the cryptocurrencies. 2013 Nobel laureate in economics Robert Shiller has shown concern about the exuberance of markets' awash in liquidity. If he has repeatedly said that there is more than one bubble going on, he is now stepping up his warning. During an interview last Friday with CNBC, Shiller said that he appreciated the Wild West mentality in markets such as real estate, the stock market, or cryptocurrencies. Chip crisis forces Nissan, Suzuki and Mitsubishi to make fewer vehicles. Automaker Nissan will halt activity at its factory on the Japanese island of Kyushu on June 24th, 25 and 28 to make adjustments due to a shortage of semiconductors. Suzuki and Mitsubishi will also reduce production and stop assembly lines. Jeff Bezos is no longer the world's richest person, and for the first time a European tops the Forbes list. French businessman Bernard Arnault, owner of luxury goods producer Louis Vuitton, is as of Monday the world's richest man with an estimated net worth of $186.3 billion, surpassing Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, reports Forbes magazine. Bezos falls to second place in the magazine's ranking with $186 billion, followed by Elon Musk with $147 billion. Trump prosecutor convenes grand jury. The Manhattan District Attorney convened a grand jury that is expected to decide whether to indict Donald Trump, indicating he feels he has evidence of alleged wrongdoing by the former president or someone close to him or his company, the Washington Post reported Tuesday. Middle East. Any attack on Jerusalem would mean regional war. The head of Lebanon's Hezbollah movement, Sayed Hassan Nasrallah, has said during a televised speech that any aggression against Jerusalem or its holy sites would mean a regional war, Reuters reports. Iraq denounces oil stolen since invasion. Some $150 billion in oil revenues have been stolen and smuggled out of Iraq since the fall of Saddam Hussein in 2003. Iraq's president was quoted by the media as saying at the introduction of a new law aimed at combating corruption. Far East. Thousands evacuated as instant India braces for cyclone Yaas. Some 11,000 people have been evacuated from the eastern India states of Odisha and West Bengal as the region braces for the impact of powerful cyclone Yaas, due to make landfall on Wednesday morning, The cyclone will intensify into a very severe cyclonic storm and slam into the India coast between Paradip and Saga Island. The center of the cyclone is moving at a speed between 125 and 135 kilometers per hour, with gusts of up to 150 kilometers per hour, according to the latest forecast. Record-breaking Sherpa says mountain goddess wants him against Everest ascent. A Nepalese Sherpa who has climbed Mount Everest a record 25 times said Tuesday he had a dream in which a mountain goddess wanted him not to make another ascent this month on the 26th. It is wise to hit a hunch. China on high alert at Yangtze River nears dangerous levels. Heavy rains have caused water levels in part of the Yangtze River and its tributaries to approach dangerous levels. Chinese authorities are on high alert with flood response drills and rescue operations underway to prepare for the upcoming flood season. In central China's Henan province, the city of Baishu in Yangtze was flooded on May 20th, 2021, after being hit by heavy rains. Nangchang is affected by continuous rains. The water level of Poyang Lake has risen, and the Dahuchi section of the Yonggu Expressway in Yongshu County is gradually being submerged by the huge lake. Chinese yuan hits 3-year high against the dollar. The Chinese currency advanced to its strongest level against the US dollar in 3 years as global investors seek safer assets amid China's strong economic rebound and the dollar's continued depreciation. The onshore yuan rose 0.2% on Tuesday to 6.4 per dollar, strengthening by more than 10% over the past year. A ticking time bomb threatens China's recovery. The amount of domestic corporate payments coming due this year in China is nearly a third more than in the US and more than 60% above that of all of Europe. Although the Chinese economy is demonstrating a V-shaped recovery, with many experts forecasting 8% growth this year, rather than 6% target set by President Xi Jinping, Forbes analyst William Pisek warns of a ticking time bomb threatening the Asian giant's boom. Huawei wants to lead in software outside US control. Chinese tech giant Huawei Technologies founder Ren Zhengfei has called on the company's staff to dare to lead the world in software as the company seeks to grow beyond hardware production crippled by US sanctions. South America. Big soybean buyers contribute to the crisis in the Amazon. An investigation has revealed that one of the main soybean sales chains in the Amazon was connected to illegal deforestation and forest fires. Political analyst Carlos Alberto Almeida believes that the company's profits are far greater than the penalties for violating the law. Mujica's invention triggers debate in Argentina. With the government and loggerheads with producers over meat prices, Argentina recalls with envy a measure adopted in his neighboring country by former President José Mujica. The so-called Asado del Pepe marked an epoch in Uruguay and was the basis of a system that allowed lowering the price of meat while maintaining exports. Strange news. 2 bees steal a bottle of soda. A resident of the city of Sao Paulo, Brazil, shared an amusing video in which 2 bees steal a bottle of soda. The woman explained she had gone out for lunch during her break at work. She took a few sips of her drinking and set the bottle aside. At that moment, 2 bees landed on the bottleneck and began to push one on the cap from opposite sides. A few seconds later, they managed to unscrew it. The blood moon and the supermoon of flowers will take place this Wednesday. This Wednesday, May 26th, a double astronomical spectacle will take place. The supermoon of flowers, when a natural satellite will look much bigger and brighter than usual, and a total lunar eclipse, known as the blood moon. A total lunar eclipse occurs when a full moon passes through the Earth's shadow into space. This transit can last for a few hours, although in this case the moon will only graze the inside of the shadow, taking 40 minutes and 30 seconds to pass through it. The total eclipse will begin at 11:11 GMT, Greenwich Mean Time, and end at 11:26. During that time, the only light that will reach the lunar surface will have first filtered throughout the Earth's atmosphere, which will disperse the blue color, leaving the red as the only survivor, giving the moon a peculiar reddish appearance. The Earth is shifting off its axis. Since 1980, the Earth's north and south poles have each moved about 4 meters, but their geographic locations are not fixed points. As the Earth's axis moves, so do the poles. The Earth began to shift so dramatically in 1995 that it changed the direction of that pole drift and accelerated considerably. The researchers found that the cause of that shift is the melting of the glaciers. The key molecule in the origin of life found for the first time in space. It is called ethanolamine. It is the key molecule in the origin of life because it contains the 4 fundamental chemical elements: oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, and an international group of researchers has detected it for the first time in space. Submarines detect strange objects piercing deep sea. During his talk with Tucker Carlson, Rogan discussed an undersea dimension to the UFO issue, which the US Navy was supposedly left out. As the release of the Pentagon report on UFOs approaches, Washington Examiner columnist Tom Rogan says that the Navy may have picked up some objects moving at a very high speed in the deep sea. Dangerous fasting. A believer almost starved to death after fasting for more than a month so that God would give him a Lamborghini. Mac Murathira's plan was to fast for 40 days and 40 nights like in the Bible. But he was rescued after 33 days by a friend and taken to a hospital. A respected Zimbabwean church member nearly died after being convinced that God would give him a Lamborghini, which his girlfriend dreamed of, if he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. Mark Murathira, a youth leader at the Rising Saints Church in Bindura, in the center of the country, hid in the mountains to avoid the temptation to eat, reports Bear Times. However, he was rescued by a friend who found him looking frail and almost unrecognizable after an absolute fast that lasted 33 days and 33 nights. Now, the 27-year-old body is being treated at a hospital and is showing signs of recovery. Couple wanted to look after an island in the Bahamas for 100,000 euros a year. It's the dream job, looking after a private residence in a paradisiacal setting and for a considerable amount of money. Polo and Tweet is looking for an experienced couple to take care of it. Prefabricated house for 8,000 euros. The company Alwood is behind a prefabricated house that has run out of stock on Amazon. It costs 8,000 euros and new homes have already been put in place to remedy the lack of stock. But you can't put up a wooden house without owning the land and without a license from the town hall. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.